I crafted the spear, which has a nice base crit chance, and I wanted to build a character with it, so I went ahead and I made a spear monk, spunk, I guess, and it was playing really smoothly, to the point where like I've gotten up to 71, only doing tier 2 maps of course, but I've been able to just leave my resistances unattended, so I'm hoping I can show you what this is looking like. Do bear in mind that elemental hits are going to be hitting me for a little over twice as much as they normally would if I was resist capped. But yeah. The first couple packs aren't super impressive just because you gotta get that ground effect going. And then once you got your frenzy charges, then the subsequent whirling whirlpools? Whirlwinds, I guess. The subsequent whirlwinds are empowered. This also means that you can't really spam your left click mindlessly. You gotta be a bit wary of the frenzy charges. And then the mobs that you kill will help you propagate your patches of chilled ground forwards. In the cases where you're not generating ground effects, you can always rely on disengage. I've supported disengage so that it has a guaranteed 100% chance to crit, and then on crit it'll generate shocked ground, so that's a perfect plan B. It's also necessary for bossing, because while you're bossing you're not going to have random monsters to freeze, and it'll take quite a bit until you manage to freeze the boss himself. So yeah, that's why you want the shocked ground. Let me try to zip towards the boss and finish clearing the rest of the map on my own time. Until you unlock Whirling Lance, you also gotta just stick with using the usual Whirling Slash skill, which is, in my opinion, a little bit annoying. Like, it gets old really fast for me to have to spam Whirling Slash 3 times to power up the Whirlwind, and then use the Twister once. So it's a lot smoother once you get Whirlwind Lance. This should be the boss coming up, right? I think so, at least. Maybe I should have picked a more linear map, but I was a little bit too I was a little bit too lazy to farm my way into a tower. Let's just kill this rare. Okay, it's not a dead end at least. When you don't have the frenzy charges or the ground effect to empower your attacks, you might find yourself having to throw 2 lances instead of 1. There we go, that's the boss. So yeah, make sure to use the disengage at the start, just to make sure you have that shock ground. And then you might have to reapply it here and there. But if you're doing things right, yeah, it's like the damage is nutty. I'll go ahead and finish clearing this in my spare time. I don't think you need me to waddle around tossing twisters anymore. Let me just do this. I doubt that's going to be any good.
Yes.
Make some space in the stash. Okay, so what do we have to go over here? Skill gems. As I mentioned, Whirlwind Lance. I've got it set up with martial tempo just because I want to be able to spam it faster when I'm bossing. Same reason why I have Scattershot. As you saw in that fight, you can just like toss multiple of these and then just walk into them for burst damage. Outside of obviously just tossing twisters into it, right? And then lightning infusion so that it might be able to shock here and there for more damage. Twister is what you're using for your clear. I've got it supported with cold infusion, ice bite, and acceleration. Acceleration is probably the best one when it comes to clearing, since it just projects your damage forward by so much. But I've also considered persistence, which could be the fourth link as well, which will make the twisters stick around for longer, and then they've got the chance of hitting the same target a couple times more, which could be good for single target. Salvo seems pretty nice. You kind of have to wait for it to load up to 3, which takes a bit, but then it just shoots a whole bunch of twisters. It does so kind of in a Nova, which likely makes it a better setup for Whirling Slash. But yeah, I haven't tinkered enough with that, and the delay on getting your 3 charges just puts me off a little. But if you were doing the whole salvo setup, you'd have to use Whirling Slash, I think. And I don't know, I don't like using Frostbolt and then having to like combo everything that much. I wouldn't mind doing like 1 combo, 1 Whirling Slash, but it's a bit much for you to do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and only then get your damage. Which is why leveling was good, it was easy, but it got old fast. At least until you get Whirlwind Lance, which is in the later levels, and then you start to automate things with the frenzy charges. I was about to mention something regarding all that. Oh yeah, crit chance. I think the base weapons that have slightly more crit chance on spears than the other ones, I think it's at starting at level 33. This one's only level 51, so it's perfect for like getting me started on early mapping, but I'm sure like further down the line you can get something better. The rest of my gear, by the way, before I forget, it's nothing too crazy. It's like flat physical damage, some life, some resistance. Obviously not insane gear since my resistances aren't capped, but yeah, you can check those as well. Disengage is supported with a pinpoint critical and inevitable crit. This is what puts it up to a guaranteed 100% chance. And then shocking leap is what causes it to generate the shocked ground. And then you're using heralds with plus damage, a little bit of AoE, which is not necessary but is always nice. Herald of Thunder is supported with Lightning Mastery and Primal Armaments for more damage, and also Innervate. A weird bit about this is that even though Herald of Thunder is a payoff skill, so it can't shock itself, Innervate gives you the buff on killing a shocked enemy, but it doesn't have to be shocked by the same skill. So you'll get this buff occasionally off of Herald of Thunder here and there. I'd like to find a way to get more lightning damage on my Twister. I've considered using Volt for this matter, but since it's primordial to be able to freeze with it, that has me using Cold Infusion. So using Cold Infusion and then having it gain lightning damage on top of that for it to be halved didn't seem like a good idea. You got Combat Frenzy to generate your charges so that your playstyle is smooth, and then Cull the Weak, which is mostly for bosses, but most of the time you can just hit the boss again with some setup or maybe just a lance, and it should deal enough damage to kill them, so not really necessary. And then Frostbolt is just a carryover from leveling. On the topic of spirit gems, I tried to fit in row amount in this, but it's a bit weird where it says you can only use bow and thrown spear skills. This counts as a thrown spear skill, but apparently Twister doesn't, even though it's a projectile attack. I suppose it's because like it's literally not throwing the spear, which, fair enough, you know? Just make do with what it is. The rest of the passive tree. So I went with Invoker, mostly for the setup that you've seen, where when you freeze a mob, you generate chilled ground, and then that empowers the twisters, and you can just like smoothly propagate everything forth. But then I realized you've got the support gem here, Frost Nexus, which is literally the same thing. Create chilled ground when they freeze. On freeze, create chilled ground. So I guess you could do this and just play a different ascendancy. But at the same time, since it's a crit-based build, having this ignore elemental resistances is quite comfortable, and it deals a good chunk of damage. I'm not really sure what I would do with the other two ascendancy points. Like, I could see myself getting this solely for the 10% extra lightning damage to help myself get the Herald of Thunder buff a little bit more, and Innervate for that matter, you know? But I tested it a little, and the reality is that you only need to freeze with Twister, and for single target, you already have the reliable patches of shocked ground off of disengage. That you can't really rely on this 25% chance on single target. It just didn't feel very good. You could see, like, there's also a universe where you just use embitter support and you just go full frost. That might be something to explore. I'm not sure. But yeah, like either way, the next 2 points could be the shock. It could be the Unbound Avatar, which is sometimes you get the buff, sometimes you don't, sometimes you have more damage, sometimes you don't. You could grab this, get more spirit, and then use that spirit to leverage some defensive auras, maybe a Wind Dancer, Ghost Dancer kind of combo. And a small footnote that I should mention is that despite this elemental expression being triggered off of melee critical hits, it turns out that Whirlwind Lance, the collapse of the whirlwind deals melee damage. So if you toss these and you walk into them, that can trigger elemental expression. And for that matter, it's also worth noting that it can generate rage on melee hit. So that could be a way to like further improve your damage. Not that you really need it, but you know. The tree is just generic monk critical stuff, you know, you got the gain is extra, you get the crit, get some skill speed, crit, crit. This branch feels a bit weird, but I couldn't find a better bathing. Maybe you can. Just more crit stuff. Heralds give you more damage of their matching element. Dance with Death, skill speed, spear, crit. A little bit of defenses and elemental damage here. A little bit of attack damage here. And then you got like some more crit damage here and some more attack speed here if you'd want to push further. But yeah, it's like nothing crazy. I just found it weird that nobody had been playing Invoker with a spear, which, or at least the few builds that I have seen, are still using Lightning Spear, which, fair enough, the skill's great. But this is a nice alternative, so yeah, wanted to share the character with you guys.